The machines beeped in steady rhythm, the only sound in the private hospital room besides hushed medical voices. Vincent Harding lay motionless on the bed, his eyes open but empty, staring at nothing. His body, once strong and athletic, now lay still as stone. 28 years old, and for the past 2 years he had been trapped inside his own flesh, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to tell anyone that he could hear every word they said about him. "The prognosis hasn't changed, Mr. Harding," Dr. Phillips said, his voice clinical and detached. "Your son shows no signs of improvement. The trauma to his spinal cord was severe. We've tried everything." Richard Harding stood by the window, his silver hair catching the afternoon light. At 62 he had built an empire from nothing, but all his billions couldn't fix his only son. There has to be something else. Another specialist. Another treatment. I don't care what it costs. Sir, we've consulted with every neurologist in the country. Some injuries the body just can't heal from. Vincent is stable, but this might be his reality for the rest of his life. The rest of his life. Vincent heard those words and wanted to scream, but his throat wouldn't work. His vocal cords wouldn't vibrate. His lungs wouldn't push air hard enough. He was a prisoner in his own body, and no one knew he was awake inside his mind, listening, feeling, understanding everything. "I won't accept that." Richard's voice was firm. "Keep looking. Keep trying. Money is no object." The doctors filed out, their white coats rustling. Richard approached the bed and placed his hand over Vincent's. "I know you're in there, son. I know it. We'll find a way. I promise you." Vincent wanted to squeeze back. He wanted to tell his father that yes, he was there, aware of every moment, every day that passed like an eternity. But his fingers lay limp and useless. The door opened again and a woman's voice filled the room. "Mr. Harding? I'm Bethany Cole, the new physical therapist. I start today." "Yes, come in." Richard straightened, wiping his eyes quickly. Bethany stepped into view and Vincent's eyes, though unable to track movement well, caught glimpses of her. She was a beautiful African-American woman with warm brown eyes and her hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She wore blue scrubs and moved with quiet confidence. "I've reviewed Vincent's file," she said gently. "I know the prognosis is challenging, but I'd like to try some different techniques if you're willing. I believe in working with the whole person, not just the injury." "Do whatever you think might help," Richard said. "Please." Behind Bethany, a small figure peeked around the doorframe. A little girl, no more than 7, with braids adorned with colorful beads and the same warm brown eyes as her mother. "Amara, sweetie, you need to wait in the hall," Bethany said softly. "But Mama, I want to meet him." The child's voice was bright and curious. "This is a hospital room. You can't just..." "Let her come in," Richard said, surprising everyone. "It's fine." Amara walked slowly to the bed, looking up at Vincent with no fear, only interest. "Hi, I'm Amara. What's your name?" She paused as if waiting for an answer. "Oh, my mama told me. You're Vincent. That's a nice name." Bethany started to apologize, but Amara kept talking. "You look sad. Are you sad?" "My mama says sometimes people get hurt and need help getting better. She's really good at helping people. She helped my teacher when she hurt her back, and she helped Mrs. Washington walk again after her hip surgery. She's going to help you too." The little girl reached out and gently placed her small hand on Vincent's. "It's okay if you can't talk right now. I can talk enough for both of us. I talk a lot. My teacher says I should raise my hand more and just speak less, but I have so many things to say, you know?" Something happened then. Something that hadn't happened in 2 years. Deep inside Vincent's chest, something loosened. The warmth of the child's hand, the complete lack of pity in her voice, the way she spoke to him like he was a real person and not just a broken body, it reached something inside him that had been frozen. His right index finger twitched. It was small, almost invisible, but Bethany saw it. Her eyes widened. "Did you see that?" "See what?" Richard moved closer. His finger moved. "Vincent, if you can hear me, try to do that again." Vincent focused every ounce of will he possessed into that single finger. Move, move, move. It twitched again. Richard gasped, his hand flying to his mouth. "Oh my God. Vincent. Son. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be trapped inside your own body, hearing everyone but unable to respond? Could you imagine the torture of silence when you have so much to say? If this story moves you, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you or someone you know experienced a medical situation that seemed hopeless until something unexpected changed everything? Bethany immediately began a series of gentle tests, speaking calmly. Vincent, if you can understand me, try to move that finger one more time. The finger moved. Tears streamed down Richard's face. After 2 years. 2 years of nothing, and now. This is just the beginning, Bethany said, her voice filled with hope. But it's a real beginning. Mr. Harding, I need to document this and inform the medical team. This changes everything. Amara squeezed Vincent's hand gently. See? I told you my mama was good at helping people. You're going to get better. I know it. For the first time in 2 years, Vincent felt something besides despair. He felt hope. The hospital room filled with doctors within the hour. They ran tests, checked reflexes, examined Vincent's finger movement with intense scrutiny. Dr. Phillips looked stunned, his earlier clinical detachment replaced with genuine amazement. I don't understand, he muttered, reviewing the charts. There's been no change in his scans, no indication that neural pathways were regenerating. But something is different, Bethany said firmly. She had sent Amara to the waiting room with a coloring book, but the child's presence seemed to have created a shift no medical equipment could measure. I saw it clearly. His finger moved in response to verbal commands. That's voluntary movement. Richard paced the room, his mind racing. For 2 years, he had hired the best doctors, tried experimental treatments, spent millions searching for anything that might bring his son back. And then this young woman and her daughter walked in, and within minutes, something changed. Miss Cole, he said, turning to face her. Bethany, how long have you worked in physical therapy? 5 years, sir. I specialized in neurological rehabilitation. Before that, I was a nursing assistant while putting myself through school. And your daughter, she's 7? Yes, sir. Amara. She's in 2nd grade. Very bright, very talkative as you saw. Bethany smiled nervously, still uncertain why the billionaire was asking about her personal life. Richard made a decision. I want to hire you as Vincent's private caregiver. Full-time. You'll work exclusively with him, using whatever methods you think will help. I'll pay you 5 times your current salary. Bethany's breath caught. Mr. Harding, that's very generous, but I have other patients here at the hospital and Amara's school. I'll handle everything. I'll hire the best private tutor for Amara, or enroll her in the finest private school near my estate. You and your daughter will move into the guest house on my property. It's fully furnished, 3 bedrooms, complete privacy. You'll have access to any medical equipment or specialists you need. No expense will be spared. Sir, Bethany hesitated, thinking of her cramped apartment, the bills piling up, the constant worry about making ends meet as a single mother. Please, Richard said, and his voice broke slightly. You saw what happened when your daughter held his hand. Something reached him. I can't explain it medically, but I know what I saw. My son moved for the first time in 2 years. If there's even a chance that you can help him come back to us, I'm begging you to take it. Bethany looked at Vincent lying on the bed. His eyes seemed more focused now, more present. She thought about how hard she had worked to become a physical therapist, how much she believed in the power of human connection and healing. She thought about Amara and the opportunities this could provide for her daughter's future. I accept, she said. Thank you, Mr. Harding. We'll start immediately. Richard's face flooded with relief. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll have my assistant arrange everything. You can move in this weekend. Take whatever time you need to settle in, and then we'll begin. I'd like to start today if that's all right, Bethany said. The sooner we build on this breakthrough, the better. I'll work here at the hospital for the rest of the week while we transition Vincent to your home. My home has a full medical suite. I had it built after the accident. He's been here because the doctors insisted, but if you're comfortable with it, we can move him home by Monday. That would be ideal. A familiar environment often helps patients feel more secure, which aids recovery. Dr. Phillips cleared his throat. Miss Cole, I should warn you. We've tried intensive physical therapy. We've tried experimental treatments. The injury to Vincent's spine was catastrophic. What happened today is encouraging, but you shouldn't expect miracles. I don't expect miracles, doctor, Bethany replied calmly. I expect hard work, patience, and dedication. But I also believe that the mind and body are connected in ways we don't fully understand. Today proved that something can reach Vincent when we thought nothing could. Over the next few days, Bethany worked with Vincent for several hours each day. She talked to him constantly, explaining everything she was doing. She massaged his limbs, moved his joints through their range of motion, and played music she thought he might enjoy. Richard had given her access to information about Vincent's life before the accident. He learned that Vincent loved jazz, enjoyed reading history books, and had been an avid runner. You used to run marathons? Bethany said as she worked on his leg muscles. Your father told me. He has pictures in his office of you crossing finish lines. 26.2 miles. That takes incredible determination. You're going to need that same determination now, Vincent. But you're not alone. I'm here, your father is here, and we're going to help you get your life back. The finger twitches became more frequent. By Thursday, Vincent could move his right thumb as well. Small victories, but victories nonetheless. Amara visited every afternoon after school. She would sit beside the bed and chatter about her day, about her friends, about the books she was reading. And every time she held Vincent's hand, Bethany noticed his responses became stronger. On Friday evening, as they prepared for the weekend move, Bethany sat beside Vincent's bed. We're going to your father's house on Monday. You're home. I think being in familiar surroundings will help. Amara is very excited. She's never seen a mansion before. Bethany smiled. Neither have I, to be honest. But I want you to know something, Vincent. I don't care how big the house is or how much money your father has. I care about you getting better. That's my only focus. And I believe you will. I believe you're in there fighting, and I'm going to fight right alongside you. Vincent's eyes moved, focusing on her face. His right hand trembled, and then his fingers curled slightly as if trying to grasp something. That's it, Bethany encouraged. You're doing so well. We're just getting started, Vincent. Just getting started. Richard watched from the doorway, hope blooming in his chest for the first time in 2 years. Monday morning arrived with golden sunlight streaming through the windows of the Harding estate. The mansion sat on 50 acres of manicured grounds, with gardens, a pond, and walking paths that wound through ancient oak trees. The guest house where Bethany and Amara now lived was larger than any home Bethany had ever imagined owning. It had 3 bedrooms, a full kitchen, a living room with a fireplace and windows overlooking the gardens. Amara had squealed with delight when she saw her new bedroom, already furnished with a canopy bed, a desk for homework, and shelves waiting to be filled with books and toys. Richard had thought of everything. The main house's medical suite was on the first floor, a converted wing that held everything a hospital room would have, but with warm wood floors, comfortable furniture, and large windows that looked out onto the gardens. Vincent had been transported by private ambulance that morning, and now lay in a proper bed instead of a hospital one. Bethany entered the room carrying a folder of notes and a portable speaker. Good morning, Vincent. Welcome home. His eyes tracked her movement. Progress. I've been researching your accident, she said, pulling a chair close to the bed. You were hit by a drunk driver 2 years ago while crossing the street downtown. The impact threw you 15 feet. You had a traumatic spinal cord injury, multiple broken bones, and a severe concussion. The doctors didn't think you'd survive the first week. She paused, making sure he was listening. His gaze remained fixed on her. But you did survive. Your body healed from the broken bones. The concussion resolved. But the spinal injury left you like this. Here's what I think, Vincent. I think your brain is working fine. I think the signals are there, but the pathways are damaged. So we need to rebuild those pathways. It's going to be slow and it's going to be hard, but I believe we can do it. She set up the speaker and turned on some Miles Davis. Your father said you love jazz. Music stimulates the brain in unique ways. We're going to make this a regular part of your therapy. For the next hour, Bethany worked through a series of exercises. She massaged his arms and legs, talking constantly. The human nervous system is capable of something called neuroplasticity. That means it can create new pathways, new connections. When one road is blocked, we build another one. That's what we're doing here. She gently moved his right hand through various positions. Yesterday you curled your fingers. Today I want you to try to squeeze my hand. Ready? Squeeze. Vincent focused every bit of mental energy he possessed. His fingers trembled and then closed slightly around Bethany's hand. The pressure was faint, barely there, but it was real. Yes. Bethany's voice filled with excitement. You did it. Do it again. He squeezed again, stronger this time. Vincent, this is incredible. 2 weeks ago you couldn't move at all. Now you're following commands and generating force. This is real progress. The door burst open and Amara ran in, still wearing her school backpack. Mama, I'm home. Can I see Vincent? Shoes off first, baby. And wash your hands. Amara quickly complied and then bounced over to the bed. Hi, Vincent. Guess what? We learned about the solar system today. Did you know that Jupiter has 67 moons? That's so many moons. Earth only has one. That seems unfair, doesn't it? Bethany smiled as her daughter launched into a detailed description of her school day. She noticed Vincent's eyes moving, following Amara as she gestured enthusiastically. Amara, hold Vincent's hand for a moment, Bethany said. The little girl gently took his right hand. Your hand is warm. That's good. Mama says cold hands mean poor circulation. Vincent, squeeze Amara's hand, Bethany instructed. He did. Stronger than he had squeezed Bethany's. Amara gasped. Mama, he squeezed. He really squeezed. I know, sweetie. You're special to him. Over the following weeks, a pattern emerged. Vincent responded better when Amara was present. The little girl became a regular part of his therapy sessions. She would sit beside him and read her books aloud. She would tell him jokes and laugh at her own punchlines. She would show him her drawings and describe them in elaborate detail. And slowly, steadily Vincent's responses increased. He could move his right arm from the elbow down. His left hand began showing tremors, the first signs of returning function. He could turn his head slightly. His eyes tracked movement smoothly now. Richard visited every day, watching the progress with amazement. I can't believe how much he's improved. The doctors said it was impossible. The doctors didn't account for two things, Bethany replied. The power of consistent stimulation and the healing nature of human connection. Your son's mind is strong, Mr. Harding. His body just needs to catch up. Please call me Richard. You're part of this family now. 1 month after moving to the estate, something remarkable happened. Bethany was working with Vincent in the afternoon, Amara sitting nearby doing homework, when Vincent's lips moved. A sound emerged, faint and rough. Ah? Bethany froze. Vincent? Did you just… Ma? Amara? Bethany whispered. Get Richard. Now, run. The little girl took off. Moments later, Richard burst into the room. He's trying to talk, Bethany said, tears in her eyes. Vincent's face strained with effort. His lips formed shapes, his throat worked. Amara? Amara? Richard breathed. You're saying Amara. The little girl approached the bed slowly, eyes wide. Vincent? Amara. The word came out slurred and difficult, but it was unmistakably a name. Amara burst into tears and gently hugged Vincent's shoulder. You said my name. You really said my name. Bethany documented every detail. That evening, she worked with Vincent on vocal exercises, encouraging him to make sounds, any sounds. By bedtime, he could produce several vowel sounds and was working on consonants. Richard stood in the doorway of the medical suite, watching Bethany pack up for the night. I want to increase your salary again. And I'm setting up a trust fund for Amara. For college and beyond. Richard, you don't have to. I do. You've given me my son back. Whatever money I have means nothing compared to that. Please accept this. It's the least I can do. Bethany thought of Amara's future, of the opportunities this would provide. Thank you. We accept gratefully. That night, Bethany lay in bed in the guest house, listening to Amara's soft breathing from the next room. 6 weeks ago, they had been struggling in a cramped apartment. Now they lived in comfort. Bethany made more money than she'd ever imagined, and she was part of something truly meaningful. She thought about Vincent's face when he said Amara's name, the determination she saw there, the progress he was making. Thank you, she whispered to the universe. Thank you for this chance. Spring arrived at the Harding estate with bursts of color. The gardens bloomed with tulips, daffodils, and cherry blossoms. Bethany often wheeled Vincent out onto the terrace so he could feel the sun and smell the flowers. She believed in sensory stimulation, in reminding his body what it felt like to be alive in the world. Vincent's progress continued. 3 months after that first finger twitch, he could speak in short sentences. His words were still slow and required concentration, but they were clear. Good morning, Bethany, he managed one April day as she entered his room. Good morning, Vincent. How did you sleep? Better. Dream. About running. Tell me about the dream. Bethany began her morning routine, checking his vitals and preparing for the day's exercises. Marathon. Boston. Could feel my legs moving fast. He paused, gathering strength. Miss it so much. You'll run again, Bethany said firmly. Maybe not exactly like before, but you'll move on your own. I promise you that. Richard had spared no expense in bringing in specialists. A neurologist from Switzerland came for a week-long consultation. A physical therapy expert from Tokyo spent 3 days teaching Bethany advanced techniques. They brought in equipment that most hospitals couldn't afford. Exoskeletons for assisted walking. Electrical stimulation devices. Virtual reality systems designed to retrain neural pathways. But the most powerful tool remained simple human connection. Amara continued to visit every day after school. She was Vincent's greatest cheerleader. When he managed to lift his arm above his head for the first time, she clapped so hard her hands turned red. When he spoke his first full sentence without pausing, she did a victory dance around his bed. "You're amazing, Vincent," she told him regularly. "You're like a superhero. Superheroes always get back up when they're knocked down." Vincent grew to love the little girl like family. "Tell me about school," he would ask, and Amara would launch into detailed stories about her friends, her teachers, and the playground dynamics that seemed so important in second grade. Richard watched the three of them together and saw something beautiful forming. His son had never had younger siblings. His late wife had wanted more children but had died of cancer when Vincent was 15. The house had been quiet and sad for so long. Now it filled with Amara's laughter and Bethany's gentle voice, and Richard felt the shadows lifting. One evening, Richard invited Bethany to join him for dinner in the main house after Amara was asleep and Vincent was resting. The dining room was elegant but warm, with candles on the table and a fire crackling in the fireplace. "I want to talk to you about something," Richard said as they ate. "I've been thinking about building a recovery center. A place where people with injuries like Vincent's can get the kind of care he's receiving. Most families can't afford what I've been able to provide. But there are so many people who could benefit from intensive therapy, emotional support, and cutting-edge treatment." Bethany set down her fork. "That's a wonderful idea. I want you to help me design it. The therapy programs, the facility layout, everything. You understand what works because you're living it every day. I'll fund the entire thing. We can break ground this summer and open within a year." "Richard, I'd be honored. But are you sure? That's a massive undertaking. I've spent my life building businesses, making money. None of it mattered when my son was lying in that hospital bed. Now I want to do something that actually helps people. You've shown me that healing isn't just about medicine. It's about hope and human connection." They talked late into the night, sketching ideas on napkins, planning a facility that would combine medical expertise with compassionate care. Bethany felt a deep respect for Richard. He could have become bitter after losing his wife and nearly losing his son. Instead, he chose to turn his grief into something positive. As the weeks passed, Bethany spent more time with both Richard and Vincent. She learned about their family history. Richard had grown up poor, built his fortune through real estate and smart investments. He had loved his wife deeply and had poured all his remaining love into his son after her death. Vincent, before his accident, had been working at his father's company but dreaming of becoming a teacher. He loved history and wanted to share that passion with students. The accident had stolen those dreams. "I wanted to teach," Vincent told Bethany one day during therapy. His speech had improved dramatically. He could hold conversations now, though he still tired easily. "You still can," Bethany replied. "Maybe not in a traditional classroom right away, but there are ways. Online teaching, tutoring. And who knows what you'll be capable of a year from now. You really believe I'll walk?" Bethany met his eyes. "Yes, I absolutely do. Your determination is extraordinary, Vincent. I've worked with a lot of patients, but I've never seen anyone fight like you do." Something passed between them in that moment. Vincent noticed for the first time how beautiful Bethany was. Not just physically, though she was lovely, but the light in her eyes when she talked about healing. The gentleness of her hands during therapy. The way she never pitted him, only encouraged him. Bethany felt it too. A warmth in her chest when Vincent smiled at her. Pride when he achieved new milestones. Something deeper than a professional relationship, though she tried to push those feelings aside. One Saturday afternoon, Richard was hosting a small garden party for some business associates. He had invited Bethany and Amara to join. Amara wore a new red dress that Richard had bought her, and she twirled to make the skirt spin out. Vincent sat in his wheelchair on the terrace. He could sit upright now without support, his core strength slowly returning. He watched Amara dance and turned to Bethany, who stood beside him in a blue sundress. "She's happy here," he said. "She is. You've been so good to her, Vincent. You and your father both. You're happy too?" Bethany looked at him. "Yes, very happy. This has been life-changing for us. For me, too." Vincent's hand, resting on the wheelchair arm, moved toward hers. His fingers, still weak but functioning, touched hers gently. Bethany's heart skipped. She knew she should pull away, maintain professional boundaries. But she didn't. She let her hands stay next to his, their fingers barely touching. "Bethany, I need to tell you." "Mama, Vincent, come see." Amara called from the garden, interrupting the moment. "The butterflies are everywhere." The moment passed, but something had shifted between them. Later that night, Bethany lay awake thinking about Vincent's touch, his unfinished sentence. and the feelings growing in her heart that she wasn't sure she should allow. If you've been following Vincent's journey from complete paralysis to speaking and moving again, you know how powerful hope and dedication can be. But what happens when professional boundaries begin to blur with personal feelings? Stay subscribed to find out how this story unfolds. Drop a comment telling me what you think Bethany should do. Should she acknowledge her feelings or keep things strictly professional? Summer brought heat and long days. Vincent's therapy intensified. Bethany had consulted with the specialists Richard brought in and developed an aggressive program. Vincent worked 4 hours a day, broken into 2-hour sessions with a rest period between. He could now move both arms with decent control. His hands could grip and release. He could turn his head fully and move his shoulders. His core strength had improved enough that he could sit in a regular chair instead of a wheelchair, though he still needed assistance getting there. The biggest challenge remained his legs. They showed some sensation and occasional muscle twitches, but he couldn't yet move them voluntarily. "We're going to focus heavily on your lower body now," Bethany explained one July morning. "I know it's frustrating, but remember how your arms were 4 months ago. They didn't move at all. Now look at you." Vincent lifted his right arm and made a fist to demonstrate. "I know, but I want to stand. Want to walk. And you will. But we have to be patient. The neural pathways take time to rebuild." They worked on leg exercises, electrical stimulation, and mental visualization techniques. Bethany would have Vincent close his eyes and imagine moving his legs, imagine walking across the room. Studies showed that mental practice could help activate dormant neural pathways. Amara had finished 2nd grade and was home for summer vacation. She spent most days at the estate, playing in the gardens, swimming in the pool, and visiting Vincent between therapy sessions. She had grown close to Richard too, who spoiled her terribly with gifts and attention. "You're going to make her expect too much from life," Bethany teased Richard one evening. "Good," Richard replied. "That little girl deserves everything. And so do you." He had just informed Bethany that he was increasing her salary yet again and had set up investment accounts in both her and Amara's names. "You've given me back my son's life. This is nothing." Bethany had learned to accept these gifts gracefully. She knew Richard's generosity came from genuine gratitude, not from trying to control or obligate her. Still, sometimes she lay awake at night amazed at how drastically her life had changed. In mid-July, during an afternoon therapy session, something incredible happened. Bethany was working on Vincent's right leg, moving it through its range of motion, when suddenly she felt resistance. "Vincent? Did you just—" "I did," he said, his voice tight with concentration. "I pushed. Against your hand. Do it again." Vincent's face screwed up with effort. His right leg pressed against Bethany's hand. The movement was small, but it was voluntary. "Oh my God. Vincent, you did it. You really did it." Bethany's hands shook as she grabbed her phone to document the moment. "Try the left leg." The left leg trembled but didn't produce the same result. "That's okay. We'll work on it. But Vincent, this is huge. This means the pathways are reconnecting." Richard was in meetings in the city, but Bethany called him immediately. He moved his leg. Voluntarily. "Richard, this is the breakthrough we've been waiting for." That evening, the household celebrated. Richard ordered catering from Vincent's favorite restaurant. Amara made a banner that read "Vincent moved his leg," with drawings of stick figures dancing. They ate on the terrace as the sun set, and for the first time in 2 years, Vincent felt like a person again, not a patient. After dinner, while Richard and Amara played cards inside, Bethany and Vincent remained on the terrace. The evening was warm, fireflies blinking in the gathering dusk. "Bethany," Vincent said. His speech had become smooth now, almost normal. "I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "These past months, you've given me back my life. But it's more than that." He paused, gathering courage. "I have feelings for you. Real feelings. I know it's complicated. I know I'm still your patient. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way." Bethany's heart pounded. She had known this was coming, had felt the same things. "Vincent, you don't have to say anything," he continued. "I just needed you to know. When I was trapped in my body, unable to move or speak, listening to doctors say I'd never recover, I wanted to give up. But then you came. You and Amara. And you treated me like a person. You talked to me like I mattered. You gave me hope. And somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you." Tears filled Bethany's eyes. "I feel it too. I've been trying to stay professional, but Vincent, you're an amazing person. Your strength, your determination, the way you are with Amara. How could I not develop feelings? So what do we do?" I don't know. This is complicated. I'm your therapist. Then I'll hire someone else. Father can bring in another therapist. I don't care about that. I care about you. Bethany reached out and took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, strong and sure. Let's take it slow. Let's see where this goes naturally. I don't want to rush anything or do something that might impact your recovery. I can accept that. As long as I know you feel something too. I do. Very much. They sat in comfortable silence, hands intertwined, watching the fireflies dance in the darkening garden. Inside, Amara's laughter rang out as Richard let her win at cards. Everything felt right, like pieces of a puzzle finally fitting together. The next morning, Vincent woke early, filled with new determination. When Bethany arrived for their session, he was already sitting up in his chair. I want to try standing today, he announced. Vincent, that's ambitious. Let's work up to it. No. I moved my leg yesterday. I can feel more sensation today. I want to try. Bethany considered, then nodded. All right. We'll use the parallel bars and the harness system. But if it's too much, we stop immediately. They moved to the section of the medical suite that Richard had equipped with rehabilitation equipment. The parallel bars were sturdy, the harness system could support Vincent's full weight if needed. Bethany called Richard to help, and together they transferred Vincent from his chair to the harness. Okay, Bethany said. We're going to lower you so your feet touch the floor. The harness will hold most of your weight. I just want to see if your legs will accept any load. They lowered Vincent slowly. When his feet touched the floor, his legs trembled violently. It's okay, Bethany soothed. That's normal. Your muscles aren't used to this. I can feel it, Vincent gasped. I can feel the floor. The pressure on my feet. That's wonderful. Can you try to straighten your legs? Try to take some of your weight. Vincent's face contorted with effort. His legs shook but began to straighten. The harness held most of his weight, but for a few seconds his legs locked and supported him. Yes, Bethany shouted. You're doing it. You're standing. Richard whooped with joy. Son, you're standing. The moment was brief. Vincent's legs gave out and the harness caught him. But it was real. He had stood, even if only partially, even if only for seconds. Tears streamed down Vincent's face. I stood. After 2 years, I finally stood. Amara came running at the noise. When she saw Vincent in the harness, tears on his face but smiling, she understood immediately what had happened. You stood up, she said, her voice filled with awe. Vincent, you really stood up. I did, little one. And I'm going to do it again. Every day. Until I can do it without the harness. Until I can walk. That afternoon, exhausted but euphoric, Vincent rested while Bethany documented everything. Richard came to find her in her office, a converted study near the medical suite. I want to do something, he said. Something to mark this moment. Vincent's standing is a milestone. I want to throw a celebration. A real party. Family, friends, the medical team that's been supporting us. I want everyone to see how far he's come. That sounds perfect, Bethany agreed. And I want to officially offer you the position of director at the new recovery center. We're breaking ground next month. I want you to lead it. Bethany's breath caught. Richard, I don't know what to say. Say yes. You're brilliant at what you do. You understand both the medical side and the human side. You're exactly who should be running this facility. And it won't interfere with Vincent's care. We'll hire additional therapists for him as needed. This is your chance to help hundreds of people, not just one. Then yes. Absolutely yes. Thank you. Richard pulled her into a fatherly hug. Thank you, Bethany. For everything. You've not only healed my son, you've healed this whole family. That evening, as Bethany tucked Amara into bed, the little girl looked up at her with serious eyes. Mama, do you love Vincent? Bethany paused. What makes you ask that? I see how you look at him. And how he looks at you. It's like in the fairy tales. Like you're the princess and he's the prince, except he's sick instead of cursed. It's complicated, baby. Grown-ups always say that. But I think it's simple. You love him and he loves you. And that's good. Vincent is nice. He would be a good daddy for me. Amara? I'm just saying. I think about it sometimes. About having a daddy. All my friends have daddies. I know my real daddy left before I was born, and that's okay because he wasn't very nice. But Vincent is nice. And Richard is nice too. I like them both. Bethany kissed her daughter's forehead. I love you, sweetheart. So much. I love you too, Mama. And I think Vincent loves us too. All of us. After Amara fell asleep, Bethany stood at the window of the guest house, looking across the garden at the main house. Lights glowed in Vincent's room. She thought about his confession on the terrace, about the feelings growing in her own heart, about Amara's innocent wisdom. Maybe it was simple. Maybe love was the answer all along. August arrived with its heavy heat. Vincent worked tirelessly. Every day he practiced standing with the harness system. Bethany adjusted the support level gradually, forcing his legs to bear more weight. His muscles, dormant for so long, began to wake up and strengthen. Again, Vincent would say, even when exhausted. One more time. Vincent, you need to rest. Overworking can cause setbacks. Just one more. Please. Bethany couldn't refuse that determination. She adjusted the harness and helped him stand again. And again. And again. By mid-August, Vincent could stand for 30 seconds with only minimal harness support. His legs still trembled, but they held. Progress measured in seconds that felt like miles. The party Richard had planned was set for Labor Day weekend. Invitations went out to family, friends, business associates, the medical team from the hospital, and the specialists who had consulted on Vincent's case. Richard was sparing no expense. There would be catering, a live band, dancing in the garden. It's too much, Father, Vincent protested. It's not enough. I want to celebrate you, son. I want the world to see what you've accomplished. Vincent had another goal in mind. I want to walk at that party. Not with the harness. Not with help. I want to walk across the terrace on my own. Bethany shook her head. Vincent, that's less than 3 weeks away. You're doing amazingly well, but walking unaided is a huge step. I can do it. I know I can. I just need to work harder. You'll injure yourself. Then help me do it safely. Please, Bethany. This is important to me. She looked into his eyes and saw the same determination that had brought him from complete paralysis to standing. Who was she to say it was impossible when he'd already done so many impossible things? All right. But we do this smart. Controlled practice. Safety equipment. And if I say stop, we stop. Deal. They developed an intensive program. Vincent would practice standing for longer periods, building endurance. Then they would work on weight shifting, moving from one foot to the other. Then small steps with the parallel bars. Finally, if he was ready, walking with just Bethany's support. Amara became his training partner. She would stand in front of him during practice, encouraging him. You can do it, Vincent. Just like learning to ride a bike. You fall down and get back up. Have you ridden a bike? Vincent asked, breathing hard from the effort of standing. No. But that's what kids on TV always say. Richard watched the intensive training with concern. I don't want him to hurt himself trying to meet some arbitrary deadline. It's not arbitrary to him, Bethany replied. This party is his coming out moment. After 2 years of people thinking he'd never recover, he wants to show them he has. I understand that. But what if he can't do it? What if he fails in front of everyone? Then he fails. But I don't think he will. Your son is the most determined person I've ever met. As the days passed, Vincent's progress accelerated. 2 weeks before the party, he took his first steps holding the parallel bars. Shuffling, shaky steps, but steps nonetheless. His face shone with sweat and triumph. Did you see that? I walked 3 steps. I saw, Bethany said, her voice thick with emotion. You walked, Vincent. You really walked. 10 days before the party, he walked the length of the parallel bars. 8 days before, he took steps holding only Bethany's hands for balance. 5 days before, he crossed the room with just a cane. The medical team couldn't believe it. Dr. Phillips came for a visit and watched Vincent walk with assistance, his mouth hanging open. This is unprecedented. The rate of recovery is unlike anything I've seen. It's what happens when you combine cutting-edge treatment with intensive therapy and sheer determination, Bethany replied. 3 days before the party, Vincent tried walking without support for the first time. He made it 4 steps before his legs gave out. Bethany caught him, helping him to a chair. Not yet, she said gently. But almost. I need to do this. I know. And you will. The night before the party, Vincent couldn't sleep. He lay in bed replaying every step he'd taken, every moment of progress. He thought about the past 2 years, about the darkness of being trapped in his body, about the miracle of Bethany and Amara walking into his life. He loved Bethany. He knew it with absolute certainty. And he wanted to tell her properly, not just in a quiet moment on the terrace, but in a way that showed her how deeply he felt. The morning of the party, the estate bustled with activity. Caterers set up tables in the garden. The band did sound checks. White lights were strung through the trees. It looked magical. Bethany spent the morning helping Vincent with his final preparations. He had practiced his walk dozens of times. 15 steps across the terrace, from his chair to where Richard would be standing. Just 15 steps. "You've got this," Bethany assured him. "I've seen you do it. You're ready." "I'm terrified." "That's normal. But fear means you care. And caring gives you strength." Guests began arriving at 5 in the evening. Over 100 people filled the garden and terrace. Vincent sat in his wheelchair, greeting people, accepting congratulations and well wishes. But his eyes kept finding Bethany across the crowd. She wore a green dress that brought out the warmth in her eyes. Amara stood beside her in a maroon dress, looking like a little princess. At 7, Richard called for everyone's attention. The band stopped playing. Conversations quieted. "Thank you all for coming," Richard said, his voice strong but emotional. 2 years ago, my son was in a hospital bed, and doctors told me he'd never recover. I refused to believe it. And more importantly, Vincent refused to believe it. But I can't take credit for what's happened. The credit goes to one incredible woman and her remarkable daughter. Bethany Cole and Amara, please come here. Bethany, surprised, walked forward with Amara. The crowd parted for them. Bethany saw something in my son that no one else did. She believed in him when belief seemed foolish. She worked tirelessly, used innovative techniques, and never gave up. And Amara's love and joy brought light back into this house. Together, they performed a miracle. He paused, tears in his eyes. "Vincent, would you like to say something?" Vincent nodded. Bethany moved to help him, but he raised a hand. "I've got this." The crowd watched, confused, as Vincent gripped the arms of his wheelchair and pushed himself up. He stood, wobbling slightly but steady. Gasps rippled through the crowd. But Vincent didn't stop there. He took a step forward. Then another. His legs shook but held. He walked, slowly but surely, across the terrace toward Bethany. People started crying. Someone shouted encouragement. The crowd began to applaud, but Vincent stayed focused on Bethany's face. On the tears streaming down her cheeks. On her hand pressed to her mouth in shock. 15 steps. Each one a victory. Each one a testament to will and love and hope. He reached Bethany and stopped, breathing hard but standing tall. "I told you I'd walk again," he said, his voice carrying in the sudden silence. "You did," Bethany whispered. "Vincent, you did it. Because of you. You gave me back my life. And now I want to give you something in return." He took her hand. "Bethany Cole, I love you. I love your strength, your compassion, your beautiful heart. I love how you've cared for me, believed in me, pushed me to be better. And I love your daughter like she's my own. These past months have been the hardest of my life but also the best because you were here. So I'm asking you in front of everyone, will you give me a chance? Will you let this relationship become something more?" Bethany couldn't speak through her tears. She just nodded, squeezing his hand. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. Amara ran forward and hugged both of them. Richard wiped his eyes, grinning widely. Vincent, exhausted from the walk, swayed slightly. Bethany caught him. "Okay, superhero. Let's get you to a chair." "Worth it," Vincent murmured as she helped him sit. "Totally worth it." The party continued late into the night, filled with joy and celebration. But the best moment had already happened, when a man who was told he'd never walk crossed the terrace on his own 2 feet to tell the woman he loved how much she meant to him. September brought cooler weather and the start of a new chapter in their lives. Vincent continued his therapy, but now with additional goals. He wanted to walk greater distances. He wanted to build stamina. He wanted to regain his independence. And he wanted to court Bethany properly. Richard, thrilled by his son's declaration at the party, gave his complete blessing. "I've seen how happy she makes you. And that little girl has brought life back to this house. You have my full support." Bethany and Vincent took things slowly. They had dinner together several times a week after Amara was in bed. They would talk for hours about everything. Vincent's dreams of teaching, Bethany's plans for the recovery center, their childhoods, their hopes for the future. "I never thought I'd fall in love again," Bethany admitted one evening as they sat on the terrace under the stars. "After Amara's father left, I built walls. Focused on being a mother and building my career. I told myself I didn't need anyone else. And now?" Vincent asked, his hand covering hers. "Now I know I was wrong. I do need someone. I need you." She smiled. "Though I'd be okay on my own too. But with you, everything is better." Vincent had regained enough mobility to use a cane for short distances. For longer walks, he still relied on a wheelchair, but that was improving daily. He set a new goal, to walk Amara to the bus stop for her first day of 3rd grade. "You don't have to do that," Bethany said. It's a quarter-mile from the house to the road. I know. But I want to. She's been so important to my recovery. Let me do this for her. They practiced the route every day. Vincent would walk as far as he could, then rest, then continue. His endurance built gradually. The day before school started, he made it all the way to the road and back without stopping. I did it, he announced, collapsing into a chair, sweat soaking his shirt. I actually did it. I never doubted you, Bethany replied, handing him water. The next morning, Amara came running out of the guest house in her new school clothes, backpack bouncing. Is Vincent really walking me to the bus? He really is, Vincent said, emerging from the main house with his cane. Ready? Amara grabbed his free hand. They walked down the driveway together, Bethany following behind. The little girl chattered the whole way about her new teacher, about seeing her friends again, about how excited she was for third grade. At the road, they waited for the bus. When it arrived, Amara hugged Vincent. Thank you for walking me. You're the best. Have a great first day, little one. After the bus pulled away, Vincent turned to Bethany. That felt good. Normal. Like I'm part of a family. You are part of our family. Vincent kissed her then, a soft, gentle kiss full of promise. I love you, Bethany. I love you too. The Recovery Center project moved forward rapidly. Ground had been broken in August, and now construction was in full swing. Bethany spent several days a week at the site, working with architects and planning the therapy programs. Richard had given her complete creative control. This is your vision, he said. I'm just funding it. The facility would have 20 patient rooms, multiple therapy gyms, a pool for aquatic therapy, gardens for outdoor rehabilitation, and offices for medical staff. It would serve patients with neurological injuries, strokes, spinal cord damage, and traumatic brain injuries. And it would be affordable with a sliding fee scale based on income. No one would be turned away. We're calling it the Vincent Cole Recovery Center, Richard announced one evening at dinner. What? Vincent looked shocked. Father, no. That's too much. It's perfect. Your recovery inspired this. And I'm honoring both you and Bethany by using both names. Bethany's eyes filled with tears. Richard, I don't know what to say. Say you'll make it the best recovery facility in the country. Because I know you will. As fall deepened, Vincent's world expanded. He could now walk several blocks with his cane. He started driving again, using a car with hand controls that Richard had purchased. He even began teaching again, offering online history tutorials to high school students. The work gave him purpose beyond his recovery. One October evening, Vincent took Bethany to dinner at an upscale restaurant in the city. It was their first real date outside the estate. Bethany wore the green dress from the party and Vincent wore a suit. He walked into the restaurant on his own, only using his cane for balance. Over dinner they talked about their future. I want to be with you, Bethany. Really with you. I want to wake up next to you. I want to help raise Amara. I want us to be a real family. We're taking things slow, remember? I know. But I also know what I want. And I want you. Both of you. Permanently. Bethany reached across the table and took his hand. I want that too. But Vincent, you need to understand something. Amara and I are a package deal. If you're with me, you're committing to being her father figure. That's a huge responsibility. I know. And I'm ready for it. I love that little girl. She saved my life just as much as you did. I want to be there for her. For school events and homework help and bedtime stories. For all of it. Then we'll move forward. Together. As a family. That night, when Bethany told Amara about the conversation, the 8-year-old squealed with delight. Does this mean Vincent is going to be my daddy? If that's okay with you. It's more than okay. It's perfect. Mama, everything is perfect. Bethany held her daughter close, marveling at how their lives had transformed. A year ago, they had been struggling to make ends meet. Now they lived in comfort, had financial security, and were surrounded by love. But more than the material changes, they had found family. Real true family. Vincent continued his remarkable recovery. By November, he was walking without a cane most of the time. He still had limitations. Long distances tired him. His left side remained weaker than his right. But he was mobile and independent. One Saturday afternoon, Vincent and Richard played basketball in the driveway, a modified game with frequent breaks. Amara kept score and cheered enthusiastically for both of them. Bethany watched from the terrace, her heart full. This is what healing looks like, she thought. Not just physical recovery, but emotional and spiritual healing too. That evening, after Amara was asleep, Vincent came to the guest house. He and Bethany sat on the couch, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her. "I've been thinking," Vincent said, "about the future. About what I want my life to look like." "And what do you want?" "I want to teach. I want to work at the recovery center helping other patients who are going through what I went through. I want to marry you. I want to adopt Amara legally if she'll have me as her father. I want us to fill this house with love and maybe someday with more children." Bethany lifted her head to look at him. "Are you proposing?" "Not yet. I want to do it right. But I'm telling you my intentions. I'm telling you that this isn't casual for me. You're it, Bethany. You and Amara. You're my future." She kissed him deep and long. "You're our future too." Outside, the first snow of the season began to fall, coating the gardens in white. Inside, warmth and love filled every corner of their home. December brought preparation for the holidays and excitement about the recovery center's upcoming opening. The construction was ahead of schedule, with plans to open in February. Bethany spent long days finalizing therapy protocols, hiring staff, and ensuring every detail was perfect. Vincent threw himself into helping. He met with potential patients, shared his story, and offered hope to families facing situations like his had been. He discovered a gift for motivational speaking. People connected with his authenticity, his refusal to sugarcoat how hard recovery was, but also his insistence that progress was possible. "You give people hope," Bethany told him after watching him speak to a support group. "That's a powerful gift. I learned it from you. You gave me hope when I had none." Christmas at the Harding estate was magical. Richard spared no expense, decorating the mansion and grounds with thousands of lights. A massive tree stood in the main hall, covered in ornaments. Amara's eyes grew wide when she saw it. "It's like a fairy tale," she breathed. "It's your fairy tale now," Richard said, hugging her. Over the past year he had become like a grandfather to Amara, and the relationship brought him joy he hadn't felt since his wife's death. On Christmas morning they exchanged gifts in front of the fireplace. Richard gave Amara a collection of books she'd been wanting. Bethany gave Vincent a vintage pocket watch that had belonged to her grandfather. Vincent gave Bethany a necklace with 3 interlocking circles representing their family. But the biggest gift was the announcement Richard made. "I've been working with my lawyers. Bethany, I'm making you a partner in the recovery center. Not just the director but an actual owner. It will be 50% mine, 50% yours." "Richard, that's too much. It's not enough. You've given me back my son. You've designed this entire facility. You deserve to own it." Bethany accepted, overwhelmed by the generosity. Amara, not fully understanding but picking up on the excitement, clapped her hands. After Christmas, Vincent began planning his proposal. He wanted it to be special, meaningful, something Bethany and Amara would remember forever. He consulted with Richard, who enthusiastically helped plan every detail. "I want to propose at the recovery center," Vincent told his father. "During the grand opening. I want everyone to see how much she means to me." "That's perfect. Poetic even. The place where she'll help so many others heal, the place that exists because of her vision." They planned in secret, coordinating with the event organizers. The grand opening was set for February 14th, Valentine's Day. Richard thought it was wonderfully appropriate. January passed in a blur of final preparations. The recovery center staff was hired and trained. The medical equipment was installed and tested. The gardens were landscaped even though it was winter. Everything was ready. Bethany worked 12-hour days wanting everything perfect. Vincent worried she was pushing too hard. "You need to rest." "I will. After the opening. This is important, Vincent. This facility is going to change lives." "I know. But you matter too. Your health matters." She softened, touching his face. "I'm okay. I promise. Just a few more weeks." The night before the grand opening, Bethany finally allowed herself to relax. She, Vincent, Richard, and Amara had dinner together at the estate, a quiet family meal before the chaos of the next day. "I'm nervous," Bethany admitted. "What if something goes wrong? What if we miss something?" "We didn't miss anything," Vincent assured her. "The center is perfect. You're perfect. Tomorrow will be wonderful." Amara yawned, tired from the excitement. "Can Vincent tuck me in tonight?" "If that's okay with your mom," Vincent replied. "Of course." Vincent carried Amara upstairs to her room, something he never could have done a year ago. He tucked her into bed and sat on the edge. "Vincent, can I ask you something?" "Anything, little one." "Are you going to marry my mama?" Vincent smiled. "Would you like that?" "Yes, very much. You make her happy. And you make me happy too." "I love you, Vincent." His heart swelled. "I love you too, Amara. So much. And yes, I'm going to marry your mama. If she says yes. She will. I know she will. I hope you're right. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow is a big day. He kissed her forehead and left the room, his heart full of love for this amazing child who had helped save his life. The next morning dawned clear and cold. The recovery center looked beautiful, with banners welcoming guests and media vans in the parking lot. Over 300 people had been invited. Donors, medical professionals, community leaders, and most importantly, patients and families who would benefit from the facility. Bethany wore a red dress that Richard had insisted on buying her. You're the star of today. You should look like it. Vincent wore a suit and walked without any assistance, a testament to how far he'd come. He carried a small box in his pocket, his heart racing. The ceremony began at 2 in the afternoon. Richard gave a speech about the inspiration for the center. Several doctors spoke about the innovative programs Bethany had designed. Then it was Bethany's turn. She approached the podium, nervous but excited. A year ago, I was a physical therapist at a hospital, working hard but struggling to make ends meet. I had big dreams about how rehabilitation could be different, more holistic, more focused on the whole person. But I didn't have the resources to make those dreams reality. She paused, looking at Richard and Vincent in the front row. Then I met the Harding family. And everything changed. Richard's vision and resources combined with his son's incredible recovery created this. She gestured to the building. This place represents hope. It represents the belief that healing is possible, even when doctors say it isn't. It represents the power of love, determination, and refusing to give up. The crowd applauded. Bethany continued, "This center will serve anyone who needs it regardless of their ability to pay. We will provide cutting-edge medical care combined with emotional support and individualized attention. We will treat the whole person, not just the injury. And we will never give up on anyone." More applause. Bethany stepped away from the podium, but Vincent stood up. "Wait. I have something to add." Bethany looked confused. This wasn't in the program. Vincent walked to the front, moving confidently on his own. "Most of you know my story. 2 years ago, I was paralyzed in an accident. Doctors said I'd never recover. But Bethany Cole refused to accept that. She saw something in me that no one else did. She worked tirelessly. She believed in me. And she brought her daughter Amara, who helped me find joy and purpose again." He turned to face Bethany directly. "You gave me back my life. But you also gave me something more. You gave me love. You gave me family. You gave me a reason to fight, a reason to get better, a reason to wake up each morning grateful to be alive." Vincent pulled the small box from his pocket and dropped to one knee. The crowd gasped. Bethany's hands flew to her mouth. "Bethany Cole, I love you with everything I am. I love your strength, your compassion, your brilliant mind, and your beautiful heart. I love how you are with Amara. I love the life we're building together. I want to spend forever with you. Will you marry me?" He opened the box, revealing a ring with 3 stones, a diamond flanked by 2 sapphires. "The 3 stones represent us. You, me, and Amara. A family." Tears streamed down Bethany's face. "Yes. Yes, of course, yes." Vincent slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into his arms. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. Cameras flashed. People whistled and clapped. Amara ran from her seat and wrapped her arms around both of them. "I knew you'd say yes, Mama. I knew it." Richard stood clapping, tears on his face, knowing his son had found the happiness he deserved. After the ceremony, after the tours and the interviews and the celebrations, the 4 of them stood together in the main therapy gym. The space was empty now, quiet after the day's excitement. "This is where it all begins," Bethany said, looking around. "Tomorrow we welcome our first patients. And our family begins too," Vincent added, his arm around her waist. "Really begins." "It already began," Amara piped up. "A long time ago. When I held your hand that first day and you moved your finger." "You're right," Vincent said. "That's when everything started. When you showed me that love and connection could reach through the darkness." Richard placed his hand on Vincent's shoulder. "I'm proud of you, son. Not because you walk again, though that's remarkable. I'm proud of the man you've become. The compassion you've shown. The family you're building." "I learned from the best," Vincent replied, pulling his father into a hug. They stood together in the winter sunlight streaming through the windows, a family bound not by blood alone, but by love, hope, and the belief that healing is always possible. Spring arrived, bringing warmth and new beginnings. The Vincent Cole Recovery Center thrived in its first months. 20 patients received treatment, each with their own stories of injury and hope. Bethany oversaw every case personally, applying the lessons she'd learned with Vincent to help others find their path to recovery. Vincent became a regular presence at the center. He led support groups, shared his story with newly admitted patients, and worked as a volunteer therapist. Seeing others in the position he'd been in gave him perspective and gratitude. He never forgot how close he'd come to giving up. One March morning, Vincent returned to the hospital where he'd spent 2 years as a patient. This time he walked through the doors on his own feet, carrying a folder of photographs documenting his recovery. Dr. Phillips met him in the lobby, shaking his hand warmly. "Vincent, look at you. It's still hard to believe." "I know. Sometimes I can't believe it myself." They walked through the neurology wing together. Vincent stopped at the door to the room where he'd been a patient. It was occupied now by someone else, another person fighting their own battle. "I'd like to talk to your current patients," Vincent said. "If they're willing. I want to share my story. Give them hope." Dr. Phillips arranged it. For the next 2 hours, Vincent visited patients in the neurology and rehabilitation wings. He talked to a woman recovering from a stroke, a teenager paralyzed in a diving accident, a man with a traumatic brain injury. Each person listened intently as he described his journey from complete paralysis to walking and living independently. "I'm not saying it will be easy," Vincent told them. "It was the hardest thing I've ever done. There were days I wanted to quit. Days I thought the effort wasn't worth it. But I had people who believed in me. I had love surrounding me. And slowly, bit by bit, I got better. You can too. Don't give up on yourself." By the time he left the hospital, Vincent felt lighter. Sharing his story, offering hope to others, gave his suffering meaning. It transformed his pain into purpose. That evening there was a family dinner at the estate. Bethany's mother had come to visit from out of state, meeting Richard and seeing where her daughter and granddaughter now lived. The older woman was overwhelmed by the mansion, the grounds, and the dramatic change in her daughter's circumstances. "I'm so proud of you, baby," she told Bethany. "You've built something wonderful here. And Vincent is a good man. I can see how much he loves you and Amara. I'm lucky, Mama. We all are." Wedding planning was underway. Bethany and Vincent had decided on a June ceremony at the estate. Nothing too large or fancy, just close friends and family. Amara would be the flower girl, her greatest wish. One April afternoon, Vincent sat down with Amara for a serious conversation. They were in the garden, watching butterflies dance among the spring flowers. "Amara, I want to ask you something important." "Okay." The 9-year-old looked at him with her usual open curiosity. "After your mom and I get married, I'd like to adopt you legally. That means I would be your father in every way, not just in our hearts. You'd be Amara Cole Harding if you wanted, or you could keep just Cole. Either way, I want you to be my daughter officially." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "Really? You really want to be my daddy?" "More than anything. You've been my daughter in my heart since the day we met. I just want it to be official. But only if that's what you want." "Yes." Amara threw her arms around him. "Yes, yes, yes. I want you to be my daddy. I've always wanted a daddy, and you're the best daddy anyone could have." Vincent held her close, his heart overflowing. "I'll do my best to be worthy of that. I promise." The legal paperwork was started. Bethany's ex, Amara's biological father, had abandoned them before Amara was born and had no interest in parenting rights. The adoption would be straightforward. May brought final preparations for the wedding and for another significant event. Vincent had been working on something in secret. A book. He'd spent months writing about his experience, from the accident through his recovery. He called it Coming Back, a journey through paralysis to hope. He showed the manuscript to Bethany one evening. "I want to publish this. I think it could help people. But I wanted you to read it first. You're in it, obviously. I talk about everything you did for me." Bethany read late into the night, tears streaming down her face. Vincent had captured everything. The fear, the frustration, the small victories, the role love played in his healing. He wrote beautifully about Amara, about the light she brought into his darkness. And he wrote about falling in love with Bethany, about how she became more than his therapist, more than his caregiver. She became his reason for fighting. "It's beautiful," Bethany said when she finished. "Vincent, this will help so many people. You have to publish it." "I will. And all the proceeds will go to the recovery center, to help patients who can't afford treatment." Richard read the manuscript next and was equally moved. "I'm setting up a speaker series at the center. You'll be the first speaker. Share your story, promote the book, inspire others." Everything was coming together. The recovery center was succeeding beyond their hopes. Vincent's book found a publisher immediately. The wedding was planned. Amara's adoption was progressing. Their life felt like a dream. On a warm May evening, the four of them sat on the terrace after dinner. Amara was curled up against Vincent, nearly asleep. Bethany leaned against Richard on the other side, comfortable with him like family. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Bethany asked quietly. "If I hadn't taken that job? If Amara hadn't sneaked into your room that day?" "All the time," Vincent replied. "I could still be in that hospital bed. Or worse. But somehow, everything aligned perfectly. You walked into my life exactly when I needed you." "Some people would call it fate," Richard said. "Others would call it divine intervention. I just call it a miracle. And I'm grateful for it every single day." "Me too," Amara mumbled sleepily. "I'm grateful Vincent can walk now and that he's going to be my daddy and that we live in this beautiful house and that everything is perfect." "Not perfect," Bethany corrected gently. "But pretty close." Vincent looked at his family, his heart full. 2 years ago, he'd been a prisoner in his own body, hopeless and broken. Now he was walking, thriving, loved, and building a future he'd never imagined possible. "Thank you," he said softly. "All of you. For saving my life." "You saved yourself," Bethany replied. "We just helped a little. You helped a lot. You helped everything." The stars came out above them as they sat together in the warm spring night, a family built from pain and hope, from determination and love. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new moments of joy. But tonight, they were simply together, grateful for the journey that had brought them here. June arrived with perfect weather. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and sunny, with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of roses from the garden. The estate had been transformed into a wedding venue, with white chairs arranged on the lawn, an arch covered in flowers and lanterns ready to light the evening. Bethany dressed in the guest house with her mother's help. The wedding gown was simple but elegant, ivory silk that flowed when she moved. She wore her hair in loose curls with baby's breath woven through. The necklace Vincent had given her for Christmas rested against her collarbone. "You're beautiful, baby," her mother said, tears in her eyes. "I'm so happy for you." Amara twirled in her flower girl dress, a maroon creation with layers of tulle that made her feel like royalty. "Mama, you look like a princess. Vincent is going to cry when he sees you." "Maybe," Bethany laughed. But happy tears. In the main house, Vincent dressed with Richard's help. His father straightened his tie, emotion clear on his face. "Your mother would be so proud of you," Richard said. "She always wanted you to find someone who saw the real you, who loved you for who you are. Bethany is that person." "I know. I'm the luckiest man alive. You're also the strongest. Never forget what you've overcome to get here." The ceremony began at 5 in the afternoon. Guests filled the chairs, about 80 people total. Close friends, family, staff from the recovery center, medical professionals who had helped Vincent's journey. Everyone who mattered. Music started. Amara walked down the aisle first, carefully dropping rose petals from her basket. She took her role seriously, making sure every step was perfect. When she reached the front, she took her place beside Richard, who would stand in as best man. Then Bethany appeared at the end of the aisle, her mother beside her. Every head turned. Vincent's breath caught. She was radiant, glowing with happiness, walking toward him with a smile that lit up the world. She reached the arch and her mother hugged her, whispering something in her ear before taking her seat. Bethany stood across from Vincent, taking his hands. The officiant, a friend of Richard's who had watched Vincent's recovery with amazement, began the ceremony. "We gather today to celebrate love. Not just any love, but a love forged in adversity, tempered by challenge and strengthened by unwavering faith in each other." He spoke about Vincent's journey, about how Bethany and Amara had been instrumental in his recovery. He talked about the family they'd built together, about the way they turned suffering into purpose through the recovery center. "Love is a choice we make every day," he continued. "To show up, to believe, to hope, to work for each other's happiness." Vincent and Bethany have already proven their commitment through the hardest of circumstances. Today they formalize what their hearts already know. They belong together. Vincent's vows came first. "Bethany, when you walked into my hospital room, I was drowning in darkness. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't see any hope. But you saw me. Not the broken body, not the hopeless case. You saw me, the person trapped inside. You refused to give up on me even when I'd given up on myself." His voice grew stronger. "You taught me that healing isn't just physical. It's emotional, spiritual, mental. You taught me that love is the most powerful medicine in the world. You gave me back my life, and then you gave me something even more precious. You gave me your heart. You let me into your family. You let me love Amara as my own. Every day with you is a gift. Every moment is a reminder that miracles are real. He paused, emotion threatening to overwhelm him. I promise to love you with everything I am. I promise to support your dreams and celebrate your victories. I promise to be the best father I can be to Amara, and to any children we might have in the future. I promise to never take a single moment for granted because I know how precious life is. I love you, Bethany. Today and always. Bethany wiped tears from her face before beginning her vows. Vincent, the first time I saw you, I saw a challenge. I'm not going to pretend it was love at first sight. You were a patient and I was determined to help you. But somewhere along the way everything changed. I stopped seeing a patient and started seeing a man. A remarkable man with incredible strength and determination. She smiled through her tears. You worked harder than any patient I've ever had. You never complained. You never made excuses. You just kept fighting. And watching you fight, watching you refuse to give up, inspired me. Made me want to be better at what I do. Made me believe that anything is possible if we just keep trying. Her voice softened. And then I fell in love. It happened slowly, so slowly I didn't realize it at first. But one day I looked at you and knew. I knew you were it. My partner. My best friend. My love. You're amazing with Amara. She adores you, and you've been more of a father to her in 1 year than most kids get in a lifetime. Bethany took a deep breath. I promise to love you in sickness and in health, in challenge and in triumph. I promise to be your partner in building the recovery center and helping others find hope. I promise to support your dreams of teaching and writing. I promise to give you the family you deserve. I love you, Vincent. With all my heart. They exchanged rings, simple platinum bands. When the officiant pronounced them married, Vincent pulled Bethany close and kissed her deeply. The guests erupted in applause and cheers. Amara jumped up and down, clapping wildly. The reception was held on the terrace as the sun set. String lights twinkled overhead. A band played soft jazz. Dinner was served family style at long tables, everyone mingling and celebrating together. Richard gave a speech that had everyone crying and laughing. 2 years ago I thought I'd lost my son. I thought I'd spend the rest of my life watching him lie in a hospital bed, trapped and unreachable. But Bethany and Amara changed everything. They brought light back into our lives. They gave us hope. They gave us family. He raised his glass. To Vincent and Bethany. May your marriage be filled with the same love, determination, and joy that brought you together. And to Amara, soon to be officially a Harding, you are the heart of this family. We love you, little one. After dinner, Vincent and Bethany shared their first dance. He held her close, moving slowly to the music, grateful for legs that worked, for arms that could hold his wife, for a heart full of love. I can't believe this is real, Bethany whispered against his shoulder. It's real. We're real. This beautiful life is ours. Later, Amara danced with both Vincent and Richard, laughing as they spun her around. The little girl who had been so instrumental in Vincent's recovery was now officially part of his family. The adoption would be finalized in a few weeks, but in every way that mattered, she was already his daughter. As the evening wore on, Vincent found a moment alone with his father. Thank you, Dad. For everything. For never giving up on me. For bringing Bethany into my life. For all of it. You did the hard work, son. I just provided resources. No. You provided love. You believed in me when belief seemed foolish. That mattered more than any amount of money. Richard hugged his son tightly. I'm proud of you. So incredibly proud. The party continued late into the night. Guests danced under the stars. The band played love songs. Laughter and joy filled the air. At midnight, Vincent and Bethany slipped away, walking hand in hand through the gardens. What are you thinking? Bethany asked. I'm thinking about the future. About the children we'll have. About growing old together. About all the patients we'll help at the center. About the books I'll write and the classes I'll teach. About watching Amara grow up. About all the ordinary, wonderful moments we'll share. That sounds perfect. They stopped by the pond, looking at their reflection in the moonlit water. 2 years ago, Vincent had been unable to stand, unable to see any future at all. Now he stood on his own feet beside the woman he loved, with a whole life ahead of them. You know what the best part is? Vincent said. What? This is just the beginning. We have so many years ahead of us. So many adventures. So many moments to cherish. The story isn't ending. It's just starting. Bethany leaned against him, looking up at the stars. I love our story. Me too. Every chapter. Even the hard ones. Because they brought us here. A week after the wedding, Vincent's adoption of Amara was finalized. They celebrated with a small party, just the four of them. Amara held the official paperwork, reading her new name aloud. Amara Nicole Cole Harding. How does it feel? Vincent asked. It feels right. Like I finally have everything I always wanted. A mama who loves me, a daddy who loves me, and a grandpa who spoils me. Richard laughed. Someone has to spoil you. Are you going to give me brothers and sisters? Amara asked, looking between Bethany and Vincent. Because I'd really like a little sister. Someday, Bethany promised. When the time is right. That fall, Vincent's book was published. Coming Back, A Journey Through Paralysis to Hope, became an instant bestseller. He went on a speaking tour, visiting hospitals and rehabilitation centers across the country. Everywhere he went, he shared his story and gave people hope. Bethany continued running the recovery center, which expanded to serve more patients. They hired additional staff and added new programs. The success rate was remarkable, far above national averages, because they treated patients as whole people, not just injuries. One October afternoon, Vincent came home from a speaking engagement to find Bethany in the garden with Amara. They were planting bulbs for spring flowers. He stood watching them for a moment, these two people who had saved his life, before joining them. What are we planting? He asked. Tulips. Red ones and maroon ones, Amara explained. They'll bloom in the spring. Like hope, Vincent said. Planted now, blooming later. Bethany smiled at him. Exactly like hope. That evening, after Amara was in bed, Vincent and Bethany sat on the terrace, the same place they'd had so many important conversations. The night was cool, stars bright overhead. I'm pregnant, Bethany said suddenly. Vincent froze. What? I'm pregnant. About 6 weeks along. I wanted to be sure before I told you. Joy exploded through Vincent's chest. We're having a baby? We are. Amara's going to get that little sister. Or brother. Vincent pulled Bethany into his arms, laughing and crying at the same time. This is perfect. Everything is perfect. Are you scared? Bethany asked. Being a father to a newborn is different than being a father to a 9-year-old. I'm terrified. But I'm also thrilled. We'll figure it out together. Just like we figured out everything else. They sat together in the darkness, planning their expanding family, talking about baby names and nursery colors and all the wonderful chaos that comes with a newborn. 2 years ago I couldn't move, Vincent said softly. I couldn't speak. I couldn't imagine any kind of future. And now look at us. A wife I love beyond measure. A daughter who calls me daddy. A baby on the way. A meaningful career helping others. A family that loves me. How did I get so lucky? You fought for it. You never gave up. And you let love in when it showed up. You showed up. You and Amara. You changed everything. Bethany kissed him gently. You changed everything too. You showed me what real love looks like. What commitment means. What it means to fight for what matters. The months that followed were filled with preparation. They converted one of the bedrooms in the main house into a nursery. Amara helped pick out decorations, insisting on a space theme because babies should learn about the universe from the beginning. Vincent continued his speaking engagements and therapy work at the center. Bethany scaled back her hours as her pregnancy progressed, delegating more responsibility to the excellent staff they'd hired. One spring evening, as tulips bloomed in the gardens, Bethany went into labor. Vincent drove her to the hospital, his hands shaking on the wheel. Amara stayed with Richard, bouncing with excitement. After 12 hours of labor, Bethany gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Vincent held his daughter for the first time, tears streaming down his face. She was tiny and perfect, with a tuft of dark hair in her mother's eyes. She's beautiful, he whispered. What should we name her? Hope, Bethany said. Her name is Hope. Because that's what brought us all together. Vincent looked down at baby Hope, thinking about the journey that had led to this moment. The accident that nearly killed him. The 2 years of paralysis. The first finger twitch when a little girl held his hand. The slow, painful recovery. Falling in love. Building a family. And now this, a new life, a new beginning. Hello, Hope, he said softly. Welcome to our family. You have an amazing big sister who can't wait to meet you. You have a mother who is the strongest, most compassionate person I know. You have a grandfather who will spoil you rotten. And you have a father who will love you and protect you and teach you that no matter how hard things get, you never give up. Amara met her sister the next day, holding the baby with extreme care, her face full of wonder. She's so small. Was I this small? You were? Bethany assured her. I'm going to be the best big sister ever. I'm going to teach her everything. About books and stars and how to be brave. Richard stood in the doorway of the hospital room, watching his expanded family. His son healthy and whole. His daughter-in-law strong and beautiful. His granddaughters, one full of energy and one brand new. This was what happiness looked like. This was what it meant to never give up hope. Vincent caught his father's eye and smiled. No words were necessary. Everything they'd been through, every challenge and triumph, had led to this perfect moment. That summer they held a christening for Hope at the estate. The gardens were in full bloom, butterflies dancing among the flowers. The same guests who had attended the wedding returned to celebrate this new life. During the ceremony, Vincent held Hope and spoke about what her name meant. Hope is what kept me alive when everything seemed impossible. Hope is what Bethany brought into my life. Hope is what we offer every patient at our recovery center. And now Hope is this beautiful child, a reminder that new beginnings are always possible. He looked at his family, at Bethany and Amara and baby Hope, at Richard standing beside them beaming with pride. 2 years ago, I was lying in a hospital bed, unable to move, unable to see any reason to keep trying. If you had told me then that I'd be standing here now, holding my infant daughter, married to an incredible woman, father to 2 amazing girls, I wouldn't have believed you. His voice grew stronger. But I learned something through that experience. I learned that giving up is never the answer. I learned that love is real and powerful. I learned that kindness and hope can work miracles. I learned that accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And I learned that every ending can become a new beginning if we're brave enough to keep fighting. Vincent kissed Hope's forehead. So that's what I want to teach my daughters. Never give up. Always hope. Accept help when it's offered. Love deeply and completely. And remember that every day is a gift, every moment is precious, and every challenge is an opportunity to become stronger. The guests applauded. Bethany wiped tears from her eyes. Amara held Vincent's hand, understanding more than her years should allow about the significance of this moment. That evening, after the guests had left and the girls were asleep, Vincent and Bethany walked through the gardens together. They stopped by the pond where they'd stood on their wedding night. Can you believe this is our life? Bethany asked. Sometimes it still feels like a dream. Like I'll wake up and be back in that hospital bed, unable to move. But you're not. You're here. You're walking. You're living a full, beautiful life. Vincent turned to face her. Because of you. You gave me this life. You and Amara. You refused to let me disappear into that paralysis. You saw me when no one else could. You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. You did the work, Vincent. I just helped guide you. No. You did so much more than that. You loved me. You accepted me at my worst and helped me become my best. You gave me a family. You gave me purpose. You gave me everything. They kissed in the moonlight, 2 people who had found each other against impossible odds. Around them, the estate that had once felt like a tomb now thrived with life and love. Inside the main house, Richard checked on his sleeping granddaughters. Amara was curled up with a book beside her pillow, already dreaming about teaching Hope to read. Baby Hope slept soundly in her crib, her tiny hands curled into fists, already showing signs of the determination that ran in the family. Richard smiled, thinking about how close they'd come to losing Vincent. How the doctors had said recovery was impossible. How he'd nearly given up hope himself. But then Bethany and Amara had walked into their lives. And everything changed. Not instantly, not easily, but steadily, inevitably, they changed everything. He thought about the recovery center, about the hundreds of patients who would benefit from the programs Bethany had designed and Vincent had inspired. He thought about the book that was giving hope to families across the country. He thought about Amara, who would grow up knowing that love and kindness could move mountains. And he thought about baby Hope, named for the force that had saved them all. She would grow up hearing the story of her father's recovery, learning that determination and love could overcome any obstacle. As Richard turned off the nursery light and closed the door, he whispered a thank you to his late wife. We did it, honey. We raised a son who refuses to quit, who knows how to love deeply, who's building the kind of family we always dreamed of for him. I wish you could see him now. I wish you could meet these beautiful granddaughters. But I think you know. I think you've been watching all along. Out in the garden, Vincent and Bethany returned to the house, hand in hand. They checked on their daughters, stood together watching them sleep, their hearts full to bursting. This is just the beginning, Vincent said quietly. We have so many years ahead of us. So many memories to make. I can't wait, Bethany replied. For all of it. Every moment. They went to bed that night wrapped in each other's arms, grateful for the journey that had brought them together. Grateful for the little girl who had held a paralyzed man's hand and refused to see him as anything less than human. Grateful for the recovery that doctors said was impossible. Grateful for love that had healed more than any medicine could. And they knew with absolute certainty that whatever challenges came, they would face them together. As a family. With hope, with determination, and with the kind of love that can move mountains, heal the broken, and create miracles out of impossible situations.